Direct Connection is made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities and is made possible by the generous support of our members. Thank you. Live from Maryland Public Television, this is Direct Connection with Jeff Salkin.
Hello and thanks for joining us tonight for Direct Connection. I'm Yolanda Vasquez. The 2017 Maryland legislative session ends at midnight tonight. Coming up, two county executives offer their perspective on the 90 days. But first, here's what Governor Larry Hogan had to say just a short time ago.
I think we got more accomplished in this 90 days than we did in the first two legislative sessions added together. I'm not sure it could have been any more successful. Almost our entire legislative package, which was very aggressive, almost all of it is getting done. I think it was an incredible bipartisan session. And we had a few heated moments here and there on different topics and some rhetoric, but the reality was that we all worked across the aisle and got things done for the people of Maryland.
Joining us now from the State House is Pamela Wood with the Baltimore Sun. Pamela, it's a pleasure to have you speaking with us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Yolanda.
So I know you don't have any legislators behind you there in the House, but normally and typically it's a pretty frenetic time. Can you sort of describe the mood as these hours are winding down there in Annapolis?
It's a very busy day in Annapolis. Despite the empty chamber behind me, lawmakers are in and out of session all day long. They'll be on the floor for a few hours. They'll take a break, have committee for a few hours, and come back. It started at 9:30 this morning, and it will go all the way until midnight.
I was following some of your tweets, so you've been awfully busy today with a lot of the Senate sessions that's been going on. Let's talk a little bit more about some of the bills that are sort of dying as we speak right now. Can you elaborate on that for me?
There were a couple bills left hanging in the balance at the start of today, the final day of the session. One that was just defeated was a bill about internet privacy. It was a reaction to changes at the federal level that would have banned internet service providers from sharing their customers' browsing information for marketing purposes. Now, it was going forward in the Senate. It crossed over to the House, and a House committee just killed it this evening. So no extra protections for internet users in Maryland. And another one that looks like it's going to be defeated is the Maryland Trust Act. It initially was written to prohibit local and state government from assisting with federal immigration enforcement. It got watered down in the House. It got even further watered down in the Senate, but it failed to gain traction on the Senate floor today, and that appears to be headed for defeat as well.
But members of the House of Delegates, they really want that bill to get pushed, into law. Is that something that we might possibly see next year?
Yes, advocates and lawmakers who had supported this bill vowed today that they would come back and keep fighting. They want to have more protections for the immigrant community from federal enforcement, and that included the Asian American Caucus, the Latino Caucus, and the Legislative Black Caucus, and they all said they're coming back next year.
What else is on the list for unresolved legislation at this point?
Another issue that's unresolved that Governor Larry Hogan is really hoping for is his proposal for some tax breaks for manufacturers who create new jobs. He had one proposal, the House had a proposal, the Senate had a proposal. They all agree in principle with the concepts, but the details of who would get what kind of tax credits and when, that still needs to be ironed out tonight. And the governor said he's hopeful that that can be worked out because he really wants to help promote and attract new jobs to Maryland.
What's the status of medical marijuana, increasing minority business owners to be sort of added in the mix?
Right, that's another one that's unresolved. Thank you. Yes. So there also the House and Senate have differing ideas about how to expand the medical cannabis industry. It's gotten off to a rocky start. Nobody's actually opened yet. Some people who didn't get licenses have filed lawsuits. There's a thought to expand, allow more people to apply, to grow and process the drug, but that also the details have to be ironed out still.
You know, Pamela, a lot of the bills that were introduced seem to be in response to what was happening on the federal level this year. Would you agree with that?
Right, yes, there definitely was a Trump effect on this session. Absolutely, no question. some Republicans have taken to calling it Trumper tantrums from the Democrats with their proposals. They gave the Attorney General more power and money to sue the federal government. They also are requiring the state to backfill funding for Planned Parenthood if that loses its federal funding. And there's also a bill moving forward to provide funding for public television if that is cut as well. So there were quite a lot of legislation that was influenced by the federal government and President Trump, and a lot of it's moving forward. In fact, you could call this a secession of Trump, really.
Yeah, there were a lot of people who felt that same way as well. Real quickly, I was following some of your tweets today, and you were talking about Senator Nathaniel Oaks, who is charged with federal wire fraud charges, I should say. I know for a while Senate President Mike Miller was happy that he didn't appear in the Senate chamber, but then that quickly changed.
Right. Senator Oaks was charged on Friday in federal court on those wiretap charges. And on Friday, President Miller said he didn't expect Oaks to come back for the last day of session. Thought it'd be best if he stayed away from Annapolis. And he repeated that again this morning. And not that long after, Senator Oaks just strolled right into the chamber. He was smiling. He greeted some of his colleagues as he took his seat. He's in the back corner of the chamber, and he sat there and he voted on some bills, and he hasn't gotten up and said anything, but it's business as usual, and that was quite a surprise because a lot of us thought he would be laying low given what happened on Friday.
Real quick question just has to do, what do you do now that the session will be complete by midnight tonight? What are the stories that you'll be writing on?
Well, I go from here in Annapolis to my job the rest of the year, which is Baltimore County government. On Thursday, Baltimore County Executive Kevin Kamenetz will unveil his budget. That's what a lot of counties are doing this time of year. So I will go right into talking about taxes and services in Baltimore County. I'm following the politics in that jurisdiction for the rest of the year.
Pamela Wood, working hard at the Baltimore Sun as a reporter and working hard for the folks in the state of Maryland. Thank you so much for your time tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Yolanda.
And just ahead, 2 county executives will lend their view to the legislative session. We'll be right back with your phone calls.
Got an unused vehicle going nowhere? Donate it to the one place that can take you any place. Visit mpt.org/vehicles and support the programs you love on MPT.
The MPT app puts our programs right at your fingertips, so you can choose when to watch, what to watch, wherever you want to watch it. Download it now.
What happens in Japan and Asia matters to me. And with NHK World's newsroom in Tokyo, I get the news live from Japan right at the start of my day.
New ideas come out of Asia all the time. NHK Newsline reports on business, technology, and world events from Tokyo to Bangkok.
Once in the morning gives me a heads up on the competition.
Every hour on the hour, the news I want from Asia.
Watch NHK World now on Comcast Channel 268 and Verizon Channel 480.
Are you turning 70 and a half this year? If so, you generally have to start spending down your retirement account. Even the minimum distribution can place you in a sticky situation. Luckily, you can now use your IRA to make tax-free gifts. Gifts up to $100,000 will never count as income, but always make a difference. That's icing on the cake.
Make your gift for this year before December 31st. Visit mpt.org/support.
This is a box that showed you a world beyond your own. It was just a box, but the world has changed, and so have we. And now the box can be almost any size or shape. And you decide what you want to explore. Anytime, any place. Break out of the box with PBS.
Joining us now from Annapolis are Rushern Baker, Prince George's County Executive, and Barry Glassman, Harford County Executive. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Good to be here.
So you both are former legislators. Tell me what the feeling was like back in the day during Sine Die for you.
For me, I was always happy around Sine Die, especially if the legislation I wanted passed. But it's a good time to see all the hard work come to an end. You pass the budget. You hope you bring back money for your county and pass legislation that's going to do a lot of good.
Yeah, I used to just dread sine die because it just drug on every year for sine die. The leadership likes to make sure they have enough work so they have a little bit of drama for midnight, and it's a lot of starting and stopping, and you're seeing that tonight as the House is out on a break.
We appreciate that candor there, Barry. Thank you so much for that. So listen, we had a soundbite from the governor at the top of the show talking about a lot of work has been done. There were some ups and downs, but at the end of the day, we did what we needed to do for residents in the state of Maryland. How do you think he did in terms of working in a bipartisan fashion this session?
Do you want me to answer that, or you want Barry to take a first shot at it?
I'll let Barry take a first shot at it, since it's a Republican governor.
I'll take the first shot. Right. I think the governor has shown over the last, this is his third year, an ability to try to work with the leadership across party lines. And listen, you're going to always have some partisanship up and downs. We have a Democratic-controlled legislature. I served in it for 16 years, and you learn to work with the minority. But the great thing about the Maryland legislature is it's set up so each county, each voter gets a representation, and sometimes you don't win your bill or your topic, but you get your chance to have a hearing and your day. The governor's been able over the last 3 years to move the counties and the state forward without a major tax increase, and I think this year they continued some good work on the budget that will pay off for future generations. And we've seen it in Harford County with folks that want to come in and invest, business investment and new job growth. So I think just that alone, with no new taxes or fees, has sent a great message across the state.
Rushern, what do you have to say about Governor Hogan's efforts this session?
It wouldn't surprise you if I disagree with that. I mean, I started the session with the governor actually not funding the Prince George's Hospital, which is which not only just represents Prince George's County, but the southern region of the state. We also saw evidence that, we asked for more money for school construction, since we have a very large population in the county, in Baltimore County, in Baltimore City, and in Montgomery County. You saw the legislature have to pass bills that were veto-proof to protect a woman's right to choose. We had to make sure that we passed, a medical leave bill that was veto-proof. I mean, all of those things don't sound bipartisan. When Barry and I were in the legislature together, you got things done. You got things done no matter if you were Republican or Democrat. I think the disappointment that I have is that we have to make sure as a county that we get a veto-proof majority just to make sure that the resources come back home. And that's uncalled for, because people in Prince George's County, Montgomery County, Baltimore City are Marylanders.
I know that reinstating the funding for the Prince George's Regional Medical Center was definitely one of your top priorities, Rushern. But tell me a little bit more about some of your other county delegations' priorities throughout the session.
We wanted to make sure, that was our number one priority, but we also wanted to see more funding for our school system. The county this year is putting about $33 million more into our public school system, and we wanted to see the state match us with more money for the school system and also for more money for school construction. We're getting some back, but not nearly as much as we wanted. We're very pleased the fact that we had a commitment to make sure that the funding's there so the state and the county can get the FBI to come here if the federal government ever puts that money in. And we were very pleased that we had a reassurance that the Purple Line will be done. And the Medical Leave Act, and prescription drugs, so something we worked on. So we're very pleased with the Attorney General Frost for leading the efforts on that.
We're going to go to the phones right now. We have a call from John in Baltimore County. John, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. I would like to know, I voted for the gambling in Maryland under the impression that the money derived from all those extra slot machines we were going to allowed the school districts to get money from these slot machines. And where does that money go, and why is the school so bad when all of that money these gambling houses are making, is my question.
Thank you so much for the question.
Well,
either county executive?
Yeah, I get that all the time because we have a new facility in Prince George's County. The local share of the money that we have in Prince George's County, 50% of that money automatically goes to the school system. The state share goes through a really complicated and convoluted formula where only a portion comes back. Certainly, I think the governor could send more of that money back to the local jurisdictions, and that would help both Harford County and Prince George's County.
Yeah, I think the county executive, Baker, and I can agree on that. Coming from a rural suburban county, there are 2 task forces out working on these formula updates. And I know just for Harford County over the last 3 years, I've increased funding by $18 million, and the state formulas have only returned about $2 million to Harford County. And a new school that's being constructed, $100 million school, we're only being reimbursed $20 million. So there are 2 commissions out there that really need to get their work done, because I think not only some of the more metropolitan counties, but suburban and rural counties are falling behind on operational education funding and school construction funding.
Barry, I didn't get a chance.
If I could just add, and we're making up the difference. At the local level, we're having to make up the difference that is not coming back from the state, and that's unfair to our taxpayers.
Barry, I didn't get a chance to ask you a little bit more about your county delegation's top priorities for this year, and were you able to get any of your measures passed?
We have moved, as I mentioned earlier, we've moved a new school project forward. We're looking at some different funding mechanisms to try to turn that $20 million that we're getting into the state by doing some value engineering and build and design techniques. The commissions have not caught up to us yet. We're moving that forward. I was going to call him Delegate Baker, but the County Executive Baker and I serve on the Maryland Association of Counties. We've been trying for a number of years to get our highway user funds returned. Those are the funds that help us fill potholes, pave our local roads. The state legislature's taken away about 90% of local road maintenance funds. And this year we saw a slight bump, but we're still working each year to return additional gas tax revenue back to our counties just to take care of the roads, in addition to our work on the education front.
I want to talk about an issue that was really big during the legislative session, and this is something that Governor Larry Hogan has made one of his top priorities, and that is combating the heroin and opioid epidemic. And I know especially in Harford County, Barry, you have been dealing with this with a number of overdose cases there in your county, but I'd like to put this question back out to the 2 of you of what type of efforts are being made in terms of treatment and prevention.
I think that Maryland counties are ahead of the curve when compared to both state government and federal government. Maryland counties have had local funds. Our health departments have been working in the addiction arena with heroin for about 3 or 4 years, Baltimore City, many more years. So this year, the governor's investment of $10 million will assist us setting up a unified MEMA-centered headquarters for us to share information will help. I think the federal government needs to do a whole lot on getting treatment money back to Maryland counties. Our health departments are the front line of treatment, not only for mental health, but for addiction. And they've been cut every year. So we have to find a way to get monies to the street. And that's, I think, to Maryland local governments, because we deal directly with people with those wraparound services.
Rushern, care to comment on that topic?
Yeah, I mean, County Executive Glassman is absolutely right. I mean, it's really at the local level. We're pleased that the governor put money in there, but we really need more money for beds, for addiction treatment. At the local level, we're putting in a lot of money into our health departments to deal with these issues, but we need both help from the state and the federal government. With us, it's opioid, but it's also heroin addiction. And so at the local level, we deal with it, but we need help. And we need more bed space for mental health, more bed space for addiction, more money for treatment. Like I said, the counties, as Barry is absolutely right, have been in the forefront. but we can't do it alone. We have a limited amount of resources at the county level. We need more dollars for direct impact services, not just for coordination, but direct impact services for those individuals who are addicted.
Our time is going quickly. I want to see if I can squeeze in one or two more topics. One of them has to do with redistricting reform. The governor obviously wants to do an independent commission to take a look at it, and Senate Democrats, they want to do sort of a mid-Atlantic pact. There's no argument that redistricting reform needs to happen in some kind of way. What are your thoughts on this bill or this legislation? Rushern, I'll start with you.
Well,
Barry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it might be easier. I clearly support an independent commission setting our district lines. I mean, we've shown in Maryland, you really just need to look at the map. You couldn't really probably sling paint any differently than we have in our congressional districts. So I think it's more transparent, and Maryland being a progressive state, we really should move forward with some independent redistricting. And I know the arguments that not every other state is doing it, but we've been the leader in a lot of different areas over the years, and I think this really makes sense for Maryland to have an independent redistricting model.
Rushern?
It is no surprise. I think that, in order for this to work, you really have to take the politics out of it. It can't be something that is look like it's just the governor's bill look like, okay, this is what the governor's going to do. Then have the inclusion of both the House and the Senate President before an introduction. If you're serious about reforming, and we all think it needs to be reformed, the redistricting, then it has to be a collaboration of all the parties, the legislative branch and the executive branch. The governor's bill wasn't that, and that's why it was rejected. If they're serious about it, they'll get, he'll get together with the Senate President and the Speaker of the House, and then work out a way to redo the districts.
Let's see if we can go back to the phones right now. We have a call on the line from John in Prince George's County. John, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say I've been using narcotics legally for over 12 years. I take the same dose every day, and without them, I couldn't have got to work without around due to injuries to my neck and my spine. But when DEA got the brilliant idea to just go from 90 days to 30 days to stop, oxycodone pills off the market, the heroin has spiked. It's a failed policy. They should go back to 90 days. If a person gets an oxycodone pill, you've got a known dose. If a person goes out and buys a bag of something, you don't know the dose. Does that make sense?
It does. Do you have a question for one of the county executives, or do you have a solution for the problem?
Go back to 90 days.
A longer amount of time.
90 days for class 2 Percocets, and your heroin deaths will go down.
All right. Thank you so much for your call.
Is that the most important thing?
Thank you so much. It is indeed. Thank you so much for your call. County Executive Rushern or Barry Glassman, would you like to comment on that?
Well, I think the important thing here is that the state leadership really needs to coordinate with the medical community, the FDA. There does need to be an organized effort to figure out how we're going to prescribe opiates, how we're going to prescribe our anti-heroin prevention drugs. And, I just think they're going to have to work together. It's one of these problems that is state, local, and federal, and it's going to require an effort between all these levels of government.
Right, because even though the caller is from Prince George's County, the regulation that the law that he stated is a state law. And so it's not one that we can change at the county level, which is why it's so important for the state, the federal government to work with the counties that are dealing with cases like that gentleman's on a day-to-day basis.
We've only got about a minute or two left. Rushern, I want to talk to you a little bit more about your budget. Is that before your county council, your county budget? Because Barry said that
my county.
Yeah. Wanted to know where the status
my
of
county,
it is.
I am so happy. I'm probably the only county executive who's down here smiling because my budget has been given to the county council. I have to do it by March 15th. Unfortunately, I don't know what the end of session is going to look like, so I have to submit it to the county council, hoping that we're going to do okay. But I'm very pleased. This is the smallest budget deficit we had to deal with in Prince George's County since I've been county executive. We made increases in health and increases in transportation and education. And so we feel very good about it, and we're hoping we don't get any cuts from the state.
I want to say that I appreciate you retweeting about MPT News tonight, Rushern. Do you do your own tweets?
I have somebody that's out there tweeting now, so you know we love you.
Barry, real quickly, what's one or two things that you're looking at?
Well, my budget is at the printer, so we're waiting for it to come in. I'll deliver it to the county council next week, and then everyone will gripe about me for a couple of weeks until they realize how much money they did or didn't get. In Harford County, we're beginning to see ourselves come out of this recession, and some of the efforts that I put before with efficiency, streamlining, and using our smartphone applications to do government business, we're seeing some growth. So we've got some larger investments in our workforce, education, public safety. So we feel pretty good about where we are, and I can't say too much because the county council will be calling me tomorrow about it.
That's not a good thing. Harford County Executive Barry Glassman and Prince George's County Executive Rushern Baker. Gentlemen, thank you so much for speaking with us tonight. We really do appreciate your time. Thanks so much. And Thursday at this time on Your Money in Business, what you need to know about purchasing a health savings account and speeding up the internet. Now for all of us at Maryland Public Television, I'm Yolanda Vasquez, and thanks for watching tonight.
This program was made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities.